So what's your take on this? How much trouble is Boris Johnson actually in?
Well, I think the fact that we're still talking about it would suggest that it's going to stick around for a little while longer. I think when this first broke last week, there was at least some speculation that maybe this will blow over by the weekend. It's still on the front pages, so it's not gone away yet. And I think given that there's a debate on it later today, we might still see this might have some legs for some time yet.
This worthy of all this hoo-ha, basically, because some are saying actually this is the tip of the iceberg and there's a wider problem of political corruption. Of course, Labour would say this is in the Tory party, but many are saying just generally in politics. And I noticed that Anne-Marie Trevelyan, the International Trade Secretary, has been doing the media rounds this morning, and she says, I don't consider there a need to be an inquiry. There is no wider problem. What's your take on that?
Lobbying isn't within the exclusive purview of the Tory party. I mean, if you look at Labour's own front benches, there are lobbyists there as well, and it's not as if an inquiry would turn over a few bad eggs on just one side. It is a problem across the House, and as you were saying earlier, political corruption and sleaze. Even looking at Claudia Webb, who on the same day that Owen Paterson announced that he was resigning, was found guilty. So it's not as if this is exclusive to one party. We'll have to keep an eye on this for quite some time, I think.
I mean, there also seems to be rather gratuitous calls for Jacob Rees-Mogg to go. It's not just the Prime Minister. I mean, is this just posturing, really, for the Labour Party? Like I said before, it's all very well and good them using the example there of, well, look at the way we responded to Claudia Webb. But, I mean, what she did was actively criminal, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, what Claudia Webb did was far more significant than what Owen Paterson did, of course. But the calls for Mogg to go, I think, are a little bit premature. Yeah, he stood in front of the House and instructed them to go for this. But let's not forget that this really came from the top. This came from Downing Street, and it came from the Chief Whip. So the suggestion that Mogg should go, I think I would be very surprised if that happens. And as far as Webb is concerned, yeah, a far more significant crime. And it's shocking to me that she hasn't resigned already. The fact that she is still there speaks to a serious rot within the Labour side. Of course, she's no longer a Labour MP; she's independent. But it's worth bearing in mind that this isn't a small problem for just the Tories.
And finally, is this being reflected at all, do you think? I mean, maybe it might be too soon to tell, but in terms of what voters are saying and the support they give to the Conservative Party, because they have been ahead, irrespective of all of this, they have been ahead of Labour for a very long time.
Yeah, well, polls go up and down. Last week would have been a shock for them because they were within touching distance, Labour within touching distance for the first time in quite a long time. But I would be surprised if you asked a person on the street who Owen Paterson was, what the situation was, what the details of this case were. So we journalists like to talk about cut through. This story obviously is still on the front pages, but I'm not certain. I don't think this is going to sink the government. I don't think this is going to hand Keir Starmer an easy victory or anything like that. But it has certainly shaken Downing Street. We're still talking about it at the very least. So we'll see how it goes, but it's not necessarily the smoking gun.
No, absolutely. And also, if you did hand Keir Starmer an easy victory, he'd probably drop it, wouldn't he?